And Jacob, lifting up his feet, went to the land of the east, to Laban the son of Bethuel the Syrian, and brother of Rebekah, mother of Jacob and Esau. And he was looking, and there was a well in the plain, and 3 flocks of sheep were resting there near it, for out of that well they would water the flocks. Now a large stone was on the well's mouth, and all the flocks would be gathered there, and they would roll the stone from the mouth of the well, and water the sheep, and restore the stone to its place on the mouth of the well. And Jacob said to them, Brothers, where are you from? And they said, We are from Charan. Then he said to them, Do you know Laban the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him. And he said to them, Is he well? And they said, He is well. And see, his daughter Rachel was coming with the sheep. And Jacob said, There is still much daylight. It is not yet time for the livestock to be gathered together. Water the sheep, go off and pasture them. But they said, We shall not be able to until all the shepherds have been gathered together, and they roll the stone from the mouth of the well, and we shall water the sheep. While he was still speaking with them, then Laban's daughter Rachel was coming with her father's sheep, for she was tending her father's sheep. Now it came about, when Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of his mother's brother Laban, and the sheep of his mother's brother Laban, that then Jacob, drawing near, rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep of his mother's brother Laban. And Jacob kissed Rachel, and crying out with his voice he wept. And he told Rachel that he was her father's kinsman, and that he was Rebekah's son. And running off, she reported to her father concerning these matters. And it came about, when Laban heard the name of his sister's son Jacob, that he ran to meet him, and embracing him, kissed him, and brought him into his house. And he related to Laban all these particulars. And Laban said to him, You are of my bones and of my flesh. And he was with him a month of days. Then Laban said to Jacob, Indeed, because you are my kinsman, you shall not be subject to me for nothing. Tell me what your wage is. Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the bigger was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. And Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was shapely in figure and lovely in appearance. Now Jacob loved Rachel, and he said, I will be subject to you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel. And Laban said to him, It is better that I give her to you, than that I give her to another man. Dwell with me. And Jacob was subject 7 years for Rachel, and they were in his sight like a few days, because he loved her. Then Jacob said to Laban, Give up my wife, that I may go in to her, for my days have been completed. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place, and made a wedding feast. And evening came, and Laban, taking his daughter Leah, brought her into Jacob, and Jacob went in to her. Now Laban gave to his daughter Leah his maid Zilpah as a maid for her. Then morning came, and there was Leah. And Jacob said to Laban, What is this you have done to me? Was I not subject to you for Rachel? And why have you deceived me? And Laban said, It is not possible thus in our locality to give the younger before the elder. Therefore, finish the heptad of this one, and I will give you this one also in return for work, that you shall do at my place for yet another 7 years. And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her heptad. And Laban gave him his daughter Rachel as a wife for him. Now Laban gave his maid Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as a maid for her. And he went in to Rachel, and he loved Rachel more than Leah, and he was subject to him another 7 years. Now when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bore a son to Jacob, and she called his name Reuben, saying, Inasmuch as the Lord has seen my humiliation, now it is me my husband will love. And Leah conceived again and bore a second son to Jacob, and said, Because the Lord has heard that I am hated, he has also in addition given me this one too. And she called his name Simon. And yet again she conceived and bore a son, and said, At the present time my husband will be on my side, for I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore she called his name Levi. And after she had conceived yet again, she bore a son, and said, Now yet again with respect to this I will acknowledge the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah. Then she ceased to bear. Now when Rachel saw that she had not given birth to Jacob, then Rachel envied her sister, and she said to Jacob, Give me children, otherwise I shall die. And Jacob became angry with Rachel and said, "Surely I am not in the place of a God who has deprived you with respect to the fruit of the womb." Then she said to Jacob, "Here is my female slave Bala, go into her, and she shall bear upon my knees, and I too shall have children by her." And she gave him her female slave Bala as a wife for him. And Jacob went into her. And Rachel's female slave Bala conceived and bore Jacob a son. And Rachel said, "God has judged me and heard my voice and given me a son." Therefore she called his name Dan. And Rachel's female slave Bala conceived yet again, and she bore Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, "God has assisted me, and I have lived together with my sister, and have been strong enough." And she called his name Naphtali. Now Leah saw that she had ceased to bear, and she took her female slave Zilpah, and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Then Jacob went into her, and Leah's female slave Zilpah conceived and bore Jacob a son. And Leah said, "By fortune," and she named his name Gad. And Leah's female slave Zilpah conceived and bore Jacob a second son as well. And Leah said, "Happy am I, for the women pronounce me happy." And she called his name Aser. Now in the days of wheat harvest, Reuben went and found mandrake apples in the field, and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Give me some of your son's mandrake apples." But Leah said, "Is it not enough for you that you have taken away my husband? Surely you will not also take away my son's mandrakes." Then Rachel said, "Not so. Let him lie with you through this night in exchange for your son's mandrakes." And Jacob came in from a field at evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, "You shall come in to me today, for I have hired you in exchange for my son's mandrakes." And he lay with her through that night. And God heard Leah, and after she had conceived she bore Jacob a fifth son. And Leah said, "God has given me my hire, since I gave my female slave to my husband." And she called his name Issachar, which is hire. And Leah conceived yet again, and she bore Jacob a sixth son. Then Leah said, "God has given a good gift to me. At the present time my husband will choose me, for I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zabulon. And afterwards she bore a daughter, and called her name Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel, and God heard her and opened her uterus. And after she had conceived she bore Jacob a son. And Rachel said, "God has taken away my reproach." And she called his name Joseph, saying, "Let God add to me another son." Now it came about, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away, in order that I may depart to my region and to my country. Give up my wives and children, on account of whom I was subject to you, in order that I may depart, for you know very well the servitude with which I have served you." But Laban said to him, "If I had found favor before you, I would have learned it by ornithomancy. Indeed, God blessed me by your coming. Specify your wage to me, and I will give it." Then Jacob said to him, "You do know in what things I was subject to you, and how numerous your cattle have been with me. For what you had before me was little, and it increased to a multitude, and the Lord blessed you at my foot. Now then, when shall I too prepare a household for myself?" And Laban said to him, "What shall I give to you?" And Jacob said to him, "You shall not give me anything. If you carry out this matter for me, I will again shepherd your sheep, and I will keep them. Let your sheep pass by today, and separate thence every gray sheep among the lambs, and every pure white and spotted one among the goats. Such shall be my wage. And my righteousness will hearken to me tomorrow, because my wage is before you. Any one that is not spotted and pure white among the goats, and gray among the lambs shall, in my judgment, have been stolen." Then Laban said to him, "Let it be according to your word." And on that day he set apart the male goats that were spotted and pure white, and all the female goats that were spotted and pure white, and every one that was white among them, and every one that was gray among the lambs, and gave them into the control of his sons. And he put a distance of 3 days' journey between them and between Jacob. Now Jacob was shepherding Laban's remaining sheep. And Jacob took for himself a green rod of styrax and walnut, and one of a plane tree. And Jacob stripped white stripes in them, tearing away the green. And the white that he had stripped appeared variegated on the rods. And he set the rods that he had stripped in the channels of the watering troughs of water, in order that, when the sheep would come to drink in front of the rods, as they came for drinking, the sheep would come into heat at the rods, and the sheep would produce pure white and variegated and ash-colored spotted young. And Jacob set apart the lambs, and set before the sheep a pure white ram, and every variegated one among the lambs. And he separated flocks for himself on his own, and did not mix them with Laban's sheep. Now it came about in one season in which the sheep came into heat, as they were conceiving, that Jacob placed the rods in the channels before the sheep, that they might come into heat opposite the rods. But when the sheep would give birth, he would not place them. So then the unmarked were Laban's, and the marked Jacob's. And the man became very, very rich, and had large herds and cattle, and male slaves and female slaves, and camels and donkeys. Now Jacob heard the words of the sons of Laban, saying, Jacob has taken all that was our father's, and he has made all this glory from what was our father's. And Jacob saw Laban's face, and see, it was not towards them, as it was yesterday and the third day. Then the Lord said to Jacob, Return to the land of your father and to your kindred, and I will be with you. And Jacob sent for and called Leah and Rachel into the plain where his flocks were, and said to them, I see your father's face, that it is not in favor of me as yesterday and the third day. But the God of my father has been with me. Now you yourselves too know that I was subject to your father with all my strength. Yet your father cheated me, and exchanged my wage for 10 lambs, and God did not give him leave to harm me. If he should say thus, The variegated shall be your wage, then all the sheep will bear variegated. But if he should say, The white shall be your wage, then all the sheep will bear white. And God took away all the livestock of your father, and gave them to me. And it came about, when the sheep were coming into heat, that then I saw them with my eyes in the sheep, and see, the male goats and the rams, pure white and variegated and ash-colored spotted, were mounting the sheep and the female goats. And the angel of God said to me during sleep, Jacob. And I said, What is it? And he said, Look up with your eyes, and see the male goats and the rams, pure white and variegated and ash-colored spotted, mounting the sheep and the female goats. For I have seen how much Laban is doing to you. I am the God who appeared to you at a divine place. There were you anointed as steely to me, and made a vow to me there. Now therefore rise, and go forth from this land, and depart to the land of your origin, and I will be with you. And Rachel and Leah said to him in reply, Surely there is no longer a portion or an inheritance in our father's house. Have we not been regarded by him as foreigners? For he has sold us, and he consumed our money by a devouring. All the wealth and the glory that God took away from our father shall belong to us and to our children. Now therefore, do what God has said to you. Then Jacob, when he had risen, took his wives and his youngsters on the camels, and he carried off all his possessions and all his chattels that he had procured in Mesopotamia, and all that was his, to go off to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. Now Laban went away to shear his sheep, and Rachel stole her father's idols. And Jacob concealed his intention from Laban the Syrian, so as not to tell him that he was fleeing. And he fled with all that was his, and crossed the river, and set out for the mountain of Galaad. Then on the third day it was told to Laban the Syrian that Jacob had fled. And taking along all his kinsfolk, with himself, he followed hard after him a 7 days' journey. And he caught up with him at the mountain of Galaad. But God came to Laban the Syrian in his sleep during the night, and said to him, Watch yourself, that you not speak evil with Jacob. And Laban caught up with Jacob. Now Jacob pitched his tent on the mountain, and Laban stationed his kinsfolk on the mountain of Galaad. And Laban said to Jacob, What have you done? Why did you flee secretly and rob me, and carry off my daughters, like those captured by dagger? And if you had told me, I would have sent you away with mirth and with music, drums and lyre. I was not deemed worthy to kiss my youngsters and daughters. Now then, you have acted senselessly. And now my hand is strong to harm you. But the God of your father spoke to me yesterday, saying, Watch yourself, that you do not speak evil with Jacob. So now you have gone, for with longing you long to go off to your father's house. Why did you steal my gods? And Jacob said to Laban in reply, Because I said, Lest perhaps you take away your daughters from me, and all that is mine. Discover what I have of yours and take it. And he did not discover anything with him. And Jacob said, Anyone with whom you should find your gods shall not live in the presence of my kinsfolk. Now Jacob did not know that his wife Rachel had stolen them. And Laban, when he had gone in, searched in Leah's house and found nothing. And he went out of Leah's house and searched in Jacob's house and in the house of the two maids and found nothing. Then he also entered into Rachel's house. Now Rachel had taken the idols and put them into the camels' pack saddles and sat on them. And she said to her father, Do not take it ill, Lord, I cannot rise before you, for I have what is customary with women. And Laban searched in the whole house and did not find the idols. Then Jacob became angry and quarreled with Laban. And Jacob said to Laban in reply, What is my crime and what is my fault, that you have followed hard after me, and that you have searched all my effects? What have you found of all the effects of your house? Set it here before your kinsfolk and my kinsfolk, and let them decide between us two. These 20 years of mine I was with you. Your sheep and your female goats were not barren. I did not consume the rams of your sheep. That which was caught by wild beasts I have not brought back to you. I would exact from myself what was stolen by day, and what was stolen by night. By day I would become inflamed by heat, and by frost by night, and sleep would withdraw from my eyes. These 20 years of mine I was in your household. I was subject to you 14 years in exchange for your 2 daughters, and 6 years among your sheep. And you falsified my wage with 10 ewe lambs. If the God of my father Abraham had not been with me, even the fear of Isaac, you would now have sent me away empty-handed. God saw my humiliation and the labor of my hands, and rebuked you yesterday. Then in reply Laban said to Jacob, The daughters are my daughters, and the sons are my sons, and the livestock are my livestock, and all things that you see are mine and my daughters. What shall I do today for these or for their children whom they have borne? Now therefore, come, let us make a covenant, you and I, and it shall become an attestation between you and me. And he said to him, Look, no one is with us. See, God is a witness between you and me. Then Jacob, taking a stone, set it up as a stele. And Jacob said to his kinsfolk, Gather stones. And they gathered stones and made a mound, and they ate and drank there by the mound. And Laban said to him, This mound bears witness between you and me today. And Laban called it Mound of the Witness, but Jacob called it Mound Witness. Then Laban said to Jacob, Here is the mound and the stele that I have set up between you and me. This mound bears witness, and this stele bears witness. Therefore its name was called Mound Bears Witness, and the Act of Seeing, about which he said, May God oversee between you and me, that we shall withdraw one from the other. If you shall humiliate my daughters, if you shall take wives in addition to my daughters, beware no one is with us. For whether I do not cross over to you, or you do not cross over this mound, and this stele to me for harm, the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor will judge between us. And Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. And Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and called his kinsfolk. And they ate and drank and slept on the mountain. Then in the morning, when Laban had risen, he kissed his sons and his daughters and blessed them. And Laban, turning back, departed to his region.